Really sweet to be here with all of you. Welcome, welcome. So this is the Well of Being Wednesday. We're really fortunate to have a special guest with us tonight, Michael Sheehy. Thank you so much for being here with us, and really looking forward to being here with you all tonight. We are going to, hi there, welcome back, nice to see you. Hi, Antonio. If there's an open seat next to you, do you want to raise your hand so we can, okay, there's an open seat there, open seat here.
Yeah, open, do we have like,
Yeah.
how many more open seats?
There's one there. There.
There's some seats.
So
Two here.
as we figure out this piece, oh yay, welcome back.
I have two more people, are there open seats? Two more open seats?
There's two in the back. Friends online. Sorry? Yeah. This is the slow settle in. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Okay. All right. Nice hush over the room. So we're going to do just a little test before we get started here. We have one mic between us. So maybe Diane, would you mind letting us know? Diane, can you hear me well online? Yeah. Michael, will you say a couple things? Say hi.
Hi, Diane.
Good? Okay, wonderful. So friends online, let us know if you can't hear us at any point, as we have the one mic here together. Great. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Really nice to be here with you all. And I know many of you are here for our wonderful special guest. Maybe you heard about it, but I bet many of you are also here because the world is totally insane. And it's really wonderful to be in Sangha together and to take refuge with inner peace and to kind of take that refuge of being, into a place in the body, heart, and mind that feels a little more still and calm, maybe even peaceful. So as we get started tonight, we're going to start with a settling in practice. Then we'll have some discussion on awareness, non-dual awareness, dreaming, everything else we can think of. Michael will then lead us in a practice and we'll do some Q&A. But as we get settled in, I know you all are coming from different places and circumstances and situations. So giving ourselves a moment to really take in having arrived here. So maybe looking around the room, seeing this Sangha that has collected here this evening. Some of you familiar, some of you unfamiliar, but here we are tonight making this shared experience and feeling the sense of connection with the beautiful outer world here. We had an incredible full moon last night that maybe you are all feeling. Here in San Francisco, we have just this crystal clear kind of dusk and darkness settling in. And for folks who are new to the center, we're on 24th Street, and sometimes it gets a little bumpin', but no worries. We are lucky we have Sarana at the door, so you can let yourself feel settled in here to this place. I'm taking what might be your very first truly intentional breath of the day. And letting it flow naturally in whatever way feels most supportive. And let's take one or two more breaths together. So inhaling, extending the inhale. And then exhale, releasing with the mouth open. Twice more, inhaling together. And exhale. One last one. Seeing if we can follow the release of that exhale. Softening and releasing through the face, around the eyes and the jaw. And softening and releasing through the heart. And staying here for a moment, just letting there be a welcoming, a softening. It's natural and necessary to have some protection over the heart as we move through this world. But right here and right in this moment, we can just welcome the heart just as it is. Softening, releasing. And then softening and releasing and finding ground in the belly. Bringing attention and awareness to this stable base. And of course, there are thoughts, memories, images, no problem. Each time you notice you've been carried away, just simply relax, release, and then return, finding this sense of stability at the belly, breath by breath. Finding a sense of connection between the stable base at the belly, inviting a warmth and openness at the heart. And then considering, feeling, or imagining a clearness, a lightness, an openness at the crown and the head centers. And for a couple breaths here, feeling this beautiful, simple, yet sacred architecture. From the base, through the heart, to the crown. From the crown, to the heart, to the base. Natural rhythm of the breath. And for just a couple more moments, inviting the sense of settling into the whole body, into a state of stability, presence, into a stillness, no longer coming from anywhere, no need to go anywhere, right here with the body. Settling the inner speech. No need to follow the thoughts, ideas, memories, and images. Instead, follow the breath. Maybe noticing the subtle sensation of breath traveling in and out of the nostrils. Body continuing to settle to this natural state of stability, stillness. And inner speech settling more and more towards silence, following the breath. And then inviting a settling of the mind to its natural state of warmth and openness. This could almost feel as though we're leaning back in the mind. Of course, there are still sounds, sensations, thoughts, but we soften and brighten, touching this natural state of mind. Just a couple more moments, settling in. It really does not matter if the mind feels so busy or so dull. Just coming back again and again. Returning attention and awareness to the body, to the breath, to that sky-like nature of mind. whether or not the body, heart, mind feels as though it can hold all the experiences arising and passing through. Consider allowing ourselves to feel held in this larger gathering of Sangha. And even held in the larger, longer stream of these teachings. Connecting to the heart of practice, bodhicitta, that yearning, that desire for our compassion not only to permeate our being, but to overflow, our sense of caring radiating out in all directions. All the many beings in our life, in this world, who could so deeply use this caring and compassion. And keeping connected to the body, the breath, and the heart. Even as the bell rings, maintaining that sense of presence with ourselves. Thank you for your practice. Welcome again. So, especially for folks who came in a little later, we are so fortunate to have Michael Sheehy with us here tonight. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit just by sharing who you are with this wonderful group. He's a meditation researcher, really looking at contemplative practice of many forms, including dream yoga and other states of consciousness and non-dual awareness. He's associate professor and director of Contemplative Sciences Center at UVA.
Director of Research.
Director of Research. There we go. Thank you. Some of you might remember last fall, I was mentioning there's a beautiful conference at the University of Virginia Contemplative Sciences Center. I highly recommend checking out their website and the incredible program of research going on there. It's really, I would say, taking to a different level of depth what it means to inhabit this wonderful catastrophe of human consciousness and open-heartedness. And I was very excited to have Michael here today and talk a little bit about what we've been exploring in this book the last 6 weeks or so. So many of you have been here as we've made our way almost through the entire book, We have just 2 more chapters, and we've been trying, hopefully enjoying, kind of navigating these different practices that touch or give us glimpses of non-dual awareness. And there's, quite a lot to say about non-dual awareness that gets you no closer to non-dual awareness. And yet sometimes the words are really meaningful signposts for us. Sometimes they feel very enriching. Sometimes we hear the word or the language, and even months or years later, it's like, oh, right. And I was saying to Michael earlier that, you've heard me and my words, and I'm so eager for you to get a kind of a flavor and a sense of the scholarship and lineage that Michael holds, especially around this idea of non-dual practices. And what I really appreciate about us here in this center is the direct application of these teachings to our life. This is not a theoretical exercise. We all want to show up and be slightly more kind and appealing versions of ourselves for ourselves and those who care about us. And then hopefully to the world. So the first question I'd love to chat with you about, Michael, is, what does non-dual awareness have to do with inner peace? And how might that help us understand the way that we can actualize peace all around us? Big question, I know. Let's go big.
Let's go big. Thanks for having me, Eve. Wonderful to be back in your presence. Nice to meet everybody. See everybody. Thanks for coming out this evening. Can you hear if I speak at this level? Do I need to speak louder? Yeah, so I think, this word non-dual, or the phrase non-dual awareness, is a good place to start. So there's an understanding and a kind of increasing discovery and recognition within the scientific research, but we find deep historical precedents for this, that there's an underlying substructure to experience, not reality, not like a thing out there, but experience, that at any given instant can go one of 2 ways. One, be constant, and that constancy I'll talk about in a moment. And 2 is switch into duplicity. Me and it. Me and you. This and that. Up and down. In and out. So we call it duality, dichotomy. And that happens at such a kind of subtle gesture of awareness that we don't even notice it unless we bring ourselves to the positions of noticing, unless we practice. And then we do it, that is to say, the human mind is propensitated towards it, right? It's habituated with a kind of force to think of the world out there as being different than me. At such an incredibly deep, visceral, unconscious level that we don't notice it. It's instinctual. It's almost, it's sort of actually built into our survival. We have to make a differentiation between the world out there to protect ourselves. But this act, this gesture of differentiation, is what gives rise to our ordinary consciousness. The consciousness of our daily sensations, perceptions, cognitions, and the how of those sensations, perceptions, cognitions, the kind of quality of our consciousness, how we experience the world, but how we experience ourselves. So that we know. But then there's the constant. The constant doesn't switch into, doesn't get tripped up, doesn't latch, doesn't clench, doesn't grasp. That, they use the word nondual, means that it never goes into the two. It never switches into me and it, this and that. And they say, I'm now drawing from kind of history of religions kind of speak, and there's many traditions that talk like this, that that's constant in that whatever you do, however you feel or think or move, kind of doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's just there. How we switch into how we think and move and sense, that's what makes up our experience. That's what forms our ordinary consciousness. They say then, talking in the resonance of Dzogchen Rinpoche's tradition, Dzogchen, that this constance has three qualities. One, that there's nothing there to ever latch onto. You can't grasp it if you try. It's like space. There's nothing there, but yet space is present. Two, it's luminous, and here luminous in the sense of when you shine light in darkness, you can see. You can know what's there. So luminous in the sense of aware, knowing. And third is that it has an expressive response to any states that are fixed, any clenching, any pain, and we call that compassion. Responsiveness to the pains of the world. But those pains are understood here as closed or clenched states. Not that this constancy is that, but that it responds to that. So open, aware, responsive. So in response to your question about the inner outer, like peace, I think was the word used. If we take that kind of frame, then as a practitioner, the going back to, the returning to the constant, open, aware, responsive, is the source from where you live your life. That's the activity that you generate. It's the activity in the world, but it's not the what, it's the how. It's the how you activate in the world. And then you're returning to those. Is the open, Am I fixed? Am I aware? Is it reflexive? Is it knowing? Am I responsive? Is there pain? Am I sensitive to it? Am I empathic? Right? These become checkpoints. They become sort of modalities that we know as practitioners through experience. We have the capacity. We don't have to do anything. We know that capacity is there. And then the practice becomes the way to return to it, to tap into the source. And that's regenerating. That's enlivening. That's refreshing. And that's very different than trying to fix the world. It's a very different kind of orientation than trying to fix the world. Because trying to fix the world is exhausting. Have you noticed? I mean, even cleaning my bedroom's like exhausting, right? Forget like fixing the world, right? That's almost like the opposite orientation. That's that there's a world out there that I can control and manipulate, and that I have the power to do so. That's a very dominant modality of thinking. And it's very different than the kind of discourse that you're framing here around. An awareness that understands there's a constancy that you can tap into as a resource.
Beautiful. I have like 10,000 questions I'd like us to talk about, so I'm going to try to choose wisely here. And I just want to like highlight and lift up some folks in this room when we do these practices are a little surprised to discover that luminous wakefulness, even after like a full day and a big burrito and doom scrolling, like
especially here in the Mission, you have the best burritos.
And like just to still find wakefulness, right?
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying also is when we have that refreshment of that deep nourishment, that luminous, kind of wakeful, spacious energy, that all the doing, it'll naturally do. But there isn't the kind of that expectation of I have to and it's mine. And you were mentioning kind of getting there that the way that we respond is compassion. And in this book, Sokni Rinpoche beautifully, he has a chapter on kind of Buddha nature or essence love, and then a chapter on subtle body, and then, maybe 2 chapters on non-dual awareness, but they're not just separate chapters. And I think something so beautiful, and then I've heard you talk about before, is, this quality of warmth and love that's already infused in our awareness, and would just love to hear other thoughts on that. And kind of also, it feels like there's a misinterpretation sometimes with non-dual awareness, that it's absent, clear, bright, almost clinical, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, kind of the bodhicitta, rigpa intermingling or non-separateness there.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if you talked on the microphone? I can't hear very well. I think maybe the filter here is kind of loud. Maybe you could talk.
Maybe let's turn off the filter.
Sure. Press that button. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for letting us know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, back to non-dual awareness. So there's another kind of idea I want to introduce here, which is really important, I think, in understanding this kind of constancy of, and the capacities that unfold from it. And I'm going to use a word called reflexive awareness. And by reflexive, I mean just like self-aware is a colloquial way to say it, okay? Self-awareness. And this is really important notion that as far as we know, as humans, we're the only ones in the universe that has reflexive awareness. Dolphins, magpies, chimpanzees, they can look in a mirror and recognize their self-image, which we call reflective, right? Looking in a mirror. But what I'm talking about here is the capacity for the mind to know itself. That is to say, the mind is a mirror. For awareness to know awareness. And we can do that. We can know our own minds. That's not a very usual thing in the universe. It's highly unusual to be able to know your own minds. That's a really important thing for us to think about. Especially as meditation practitioners. That is to say, as people who take up intentionally a regime of reflecting on their own mind. That very ability to contemplate or to meditate is extraordinarily rare. Again, we only know humans who can do this. And what it gives birth to, what it allows, is a kind of knowing what it is to have feelings. And those feelings can be painful. Those feelings can be blissful. Feelings can be across the whole spectrum. Not just sensation, what we get from tactility or touch, but feeling, affect, where emotion comes from in our bodies. And that ability to know, the self-reflexive capacity to know how we feel, how I feel about something, then does this other incredible move. It lets us infer how others feel. And that gesture right there, from reflexivity to empathy, that's what we call compassion. And they say this is, again, very, very unusual to be able to sort of do this in a highly cognizant way. Not that I'm not saying other animals aren't compassionate. In fact, if we looked at mother mammals, at least throughout the animal kingdom and their babies, there's incredible, from the moment of birth, responsiveness to caring for them. But what I'm talking about, and we can call that compassion or care, I'm fine with that. What I'm talking about is how we use our own minds to deepen that in others, to extend that beyond to total strangers, totally strange to us. There's a great line in, like, it's Tennessee Williams, Night of the Iguana. He's sitting at the bar, somebody comes over. I think he's drinking whiskey or something. And he says to him, "Nothing human is alien to me." nothing human is alien to me. That is to say, how we can know our own minds translates into how we can understand, empathize, and respond to the pains of the world. And if we think about that in the kind of constancy framework I was talking about, of open, aware, responsive, the responsiveness is responsiveness to nodes of pain. Nodes that we know, that is to say selves, others, that we resonate with, feeling the kinds of pain that we can know. So there's then like a whole suite of contemplative practices designed to cultivate that. That discovery was then sort of mined, if you will, right? And then a whole technology was born called contemplative practices to cultivate that insight. How do we do that? What are the techniques? What are the technologies? What are the methods to really consciously, intentionally cultivate that? So it's a skill set. So it's a competency, a contemplative competency. Just like knowing how to eat with chopsticks. We just had noodles before here. Or, I don't know, speak French. Not that those are equivalent. The point is that we can build skill sets that become competencies, right? That is to say, we become fluent in how to be in the world in ways that we have intentionally set ourselves to be. And if that's compassionate, we can understand the dynamics of how we're compassionate, but more importantly, we take the practices up, right? We practice. In Tibetan we say Nyamsu Lempa, which literally means take up into our experience. That is to say, practice. How to do that? We build the skills. We cultivate the competencies. So that when we're in situations where there's a lot of pain, a lot of contraction, not the open constancy, but the tight contractedness, that responsiveness is more fluent. We're more skilled in responding. Make sense?
Does. And yeah, there's something about that tool making of contemplative practice I love so much as, a metaphor and analogy, like it's already here, right? This capacity for reflexive mind, this natural kind of openness that can meet the contraction. And then, of course, the first chapter, second chapter in this book is all on essence love, what he's calling Buddha nature, not something you're generating, but something that's naturally already this sense of compassion and warmth.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the responsiveness, the essence love.
And doesn't even need to be for anyone. And then, I really do love how Shantideva, we read the Guide to the Bodhisattva before this book, and, it's not, I should care about the world and the suffering. It's like, my own heart overflows with so much love, of course it wants to meet the world. Like it's not, oh, I'm a Buddhist and I want to be an engaged Buddhist, like let me get out there. It's this natural overflowing once we have that opportunity to rest in that, in that open, uncontrived, unconfigured. I like constancy as a word. I want to try to ask one more question before I have you guide us in some practice. And, we're so fortunate to have you here. But before I got to invite you here, you're coming to lead, folks on Saturday in lucid dreaming. And I think that this community here, there've been many folks interested in, what are the ways we can understand awareness through sleep and through waking. And, I know that this takes at least a full day, if not a full lifetime to unpack. But curious, like, how do we use that analogy, especially of sleeping and wakefulness, especially in the traditions, to help us understand what you're already describing?
Yeah. So, one of the practices that I've, over the last few years, have delved into is a Tibetan Buddhist practice called dream yoga. And which is a sleeping practice, a lucid dreaming sleeping practice, but then there's a waking practice that complements it. You perform while awake in the daytime, called illusory form practices. And on Saturday, I'll be doing a workshop on that. We have a study in our lab that's taken those principles that I've sort of abstracted at a second order level around psychological flexibility, somatic awareness, and imaginal simulation. And we've designed a randomized control trial that we're running in our lab with a sleep lab at Northwestern University. So we're sort of in it. We have a virtual reality simulation of dream experiences that we designed with collaborators of ours. And so we're looking at simulation effects and across the spectrum of waking and sleeping. What I'm interested as a kind of through line there is what we call lucidity. And so lucid dreaming is the name given to being in a dream and then recognizing the dream as a dream. And when you recognize you're in a dream, do you recognize you're in a dream?
All the time.
Then you're lucid. If you're in a dream, you don't recognize you're in the dream, you're just dreaming. And then you wake up, maybe you remember the dream, but you didn't have agency in the dream. And it's a lot more fun to have agency in the dream. That is to say, to know you're in a dream. So the dream world is an alternative world from the waking world. And in the dream world, you can do and perform in ways that you cannot in the waking world. The laws of physics don't apply. The imaginaire is completely alternative, etc., etc. So this fundamental model of a dream body in a dream world as juxtaposed to what I'll call a waking body in a waking world. And we've then simulated this in virtual reality to leverage the technology of virtuality to say, well, what is it to be awake in a dream world? And if we do that, which we've done, you can cultivate skill sets that you would only be able to perform in a dream while awake. For instance, there's a classic set of 6 tasks, practices you perform in a dream, and Tibetan dream yoga practice. One is transforming things. So I look at the bell, I say, oh, change it into a glass of wine. Change it into a coffee. Change it into a bouquet of flowers. Take appearances and you can transform them. You can't do that in the same way while awake. Another is conjuring. That is to say, making things appear that aren't currently apparent. They're not there. So, make an armadillo walk across the floor, make the bouquet of flowers appear over next to Eve, then transform the red flowers and the purple flowers and the yellow flowers, etc., etc. So you can make up things, you can transform things, so makeshift, so shape-shifting and manifesting, what we call transforming and conjuring. Those are 2 classic ones. There's a set of 6. Anyways, we do this in virtual reality, so why would you do that? Sounds like, okay, that's kind of gamifying contemplative practice. Actually, no, we do it in this kind of aesthetic that is designed to sort of work with the practitioner's sensibilities to cultivate these as skill sets of our imagination, our perception, and our bodily awareness. And then we're interested in how those translate into waking life. Can we imagine scenarios differently? Perspective taking. Can we reimagine ourselves showing up differently? Responding to situations differently, perceiving others in ways that maybe we have been habitually confined to, etc., etc. That is to say, loosening up perceptions and cognitions, what we call the plasticity of the mind, right? So we're loosening up the plasticity of the mind, cultivating a heightened sense of awareness, awareness of our own mind, but also awareness of our body, feelings. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Did I miss something? There was a
I mean,
punchline.
there's so much
There was a
more.
punchline there. So, essence love.
Essence, let's always come back to essence love. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I talk about responsivity to the pains of the world, or there's this beautiful line that's sort of drawing from Tsoknyi Rinpoche. So there's a really beautiful line in a Buddhist sutra that says, I use this word bodhicitta. That bodhicitta is the response to the closed-heartedness of the world. And that there's these kind of, the beating hearts of sentient beings can close at any moment, right? And then bodhicitta is just a response to that. How do we respond? Just when I think I'm loud, I'm soft. I said that there's a really lovely passage in that describes this term that Eve mentioned, which is a Sanskrit word bodhicitta, which is a word for, we'll talk about as essence love in this context. And that it's the responsiveness to the closed-heartedness of the world. And there's a kind of notion that the beating hearts of other beings, of living beings, can close at any moment. And that triggers a kind of reflex to respond. And they call that bodhicitta.
Do you want to lead a little practice and then we'll do questions?
Sure. Back into practice mode. All right. Beautiful. So, yeah, comfort yourselves. We go to when? 8:30?
8:30.
So I invite you to sit comfortably, upright and at ease. If you like, you can lower your gaze. Allow it to just fall gently, space in front of you. Allow your arms just dangle either on your lap or on the side, whatever is most comfortable. Allow your eyelids to fall as they may, slightly slid or closed. Though we often assume intimacy with ourselves, how deeply tuned in to the routine workings of our body and mind are we? How aware are we of the life of our own mind? Much of our bodily processes are beyond the thresholds of awareness. While we can tune in to our breath rate and our heartbeat, to the sensations in our leg or the rumblings in our stomach, there are continual processes occurring within our body for which we are unaware, like the mitosis, division of cells, the trillions of electrical firings of synapses in your brain, the protein battles that defend your body against microbes in your immune system, and so on. These are silent, unconscious processes that your awareness does not detect. To what extent is this true of your mind? Are you reflexively aware of your motivations or intentions, your assumptions, your emotions at any given moment? Are you aware of your own thoughts, your feelings, sensations? There are profound depths that are unobvious to us. Complex forces of contingencies operable in any given moment. Influences, culture and language, interactions shape us in unseen ways. We're constantly undoing new formations of which we have very little tacit awareness. Imagine our mind as a vastly deep and vast ocean. While we're mostly preoccupied with the surface level awareness, there are depths below the surface of this ocean. From time to time, experiences emerge from these depths to the surface of awareness, though the depths remain unfathomable. What arises to the surface does not abruptly come from nowhere, nor is it from outside. That which exceeds the scope of our awareness is not limited to external influences. As phenomena surface to awareness, do you accept these without elaboration? Just as is. And when you look when you closely investigate, is it clear or murky? With a still and quiet mind, consider its depths. Notice the surface of your awareness. As phenomena emerge to the surface and are brought into your awareness, ask, where did this come from? As it persists, for how long does it last? And when it subsides back below the surface, where did it go? Over and over, observe the coming, the staying, the going of whatever. Whatever phenomena emerge to the surface, any random association or sensation or feeling, whatever emerges. However you feel, just notice it. Let it arise. Watch it. Allow it to depart. When a phenomena emerges to the surface of your mind, ask, where did it come from? As it persists, ask, where is it located? As it subsides, where did it go? Just sit and watch and ask. As each phenomena makes ripples on the ocean of the mind, ask, where did it come from? Where is it? Where is it going? Watch the emergence, the endurance, the vanishing of phenomena in your awareness. Sit with its ripples on the surface of your mind. Now gently, very gently, if you'll allow, when you feel comfortable, watch the questioning subside. And rest in the ocean of mind as its waves lap without question. As you sit and watch, I invite you to feel the vast, profound ocean of your mind. Just sit with that vastness. And when you're ready, return to your breath like an anchor, bobbing on the surface of awareness. And if you like, take 3 breaths, each with an extended exhalation. On the 3rd exhalation, gently open your eyes. Return to the world around you. As you go through your evening, your days tomorrow, if you're overridden with emotion, thoughts flicker wildly, you can recall the deep sense of vastness that you can access. It's the profound ocean of your mind.
Wow. Thank you, Michael. Welcome back from the ocean, or maybe stay in the ocean. So, as many folks here know, one of the precious opportunities of practicing together is getting to be in community and conversation, discussion. And in order for us to do that with a different group, a little bit different every time, wonderfully so, we have to kind of come to a bit of a consensus that the practice isn't just with our eyes closed or mostly closed. The practice of this compassion is also in our listening and in our speaking with one another. So when we do a period of question and answers, that we listen to the questions with like that open heart of compassion. And that when we are speaking and asking questions, we're also considering and engaging that compassionate intention, considering the impact it might have on others. So that's the invitation, that's the hope. Can we all engage in active compassion with one another? Yeah, great. So would love to hear questions or reflections from folks. Yeah, and if you want to speak in the room, the mic is here, and friends online can raise a hand. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Bogdana, and my question is kind of related to my experience and also what you mentioned about bodhicitta. Because one thing where my mind really struggled during the practice was when there was a feeling, there was this closing of the heart and really awareness of the closing of my own heart during the practice. And then there was this sense of response that felt much more like it was hard just to notice that without immediately like trying to do something about it. And maybe this is where like my mind is really struggling with what is the responsiveness of bodhicitta that is the versus the sort of non-doing or kind of effort, or what is the kind of like effortlessness and yeah, something around that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really the heart of the matter, right? So thank you for practicing and noticing that. So that right there is this dynamic, right? Between sort of that moment of grasping or clenching or, right? Tightening up. That's habit. That's okay. That's already there. There's a force to that. There's an inertia. There's an inertia to that. It's like kind of gravity. It's like, it's okay. It's already there. But the difference is the more you practice, the more you notice that, bring awareness to it, then the more it'll loosen up. The more it will reverse the habit. And then you become familiar with what it feels like not to make that gesture. Or at least when you do, when the gesture is made, you recognize it. Right? So that's a really, that's it. That's like a critical moment. Right there, what you just expressed, right? Feeling the tense, and then do I put in effort or not, right? And there's this kind of balancing act where actually you can't not put in effort. It's like I said, the inertia is there. The habit's too strong for a while. But the habit will loosen through familiarity with that dynamic, which comes about through practice. Does that make sense? So I guess I would say two things. One, it's kind of natural, right? It's going to happen. But what else is natural is it not happening on its own if you bring awareness to it over and over and over, right? So that's why we have these techniques, is to show us those little dynamics within our minds and our parts, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
One more in the room, and then I see there's one online.
Thank you for this practice. I had a really, interesting, I really appreciate the meditation. I had an unusual experience, feeling unusually settled when it started. So when it came to the ocean, I often, when it comes to seeing the mind as the ocean, the thoughts come up as fish for me, beings of the ocean. And when you prompted us to ask the question, I was like, well, crap, I'm not having any thoughts. It's just the ocean. So then I started being like, I'm going to force some thought. I'm going to like make some thoughts happen. And it felt very fake. And I was like, okay, well, I'm trying too hard. I was like, I'm a scientist. I'm going to just do an experiment. But then it settled. And then I've had this experience in the past where it feels like there's a difference between the thoughts that I force and then the thoughts that come up naturally. But then later, some thoughts did start happening naturally, but they felt the same as the ones that had been forced. It was like, oh, they came from the same place. Weird. That's unusual for me. I don't really have a question. It was just a cool experience. I was wondering what your reaction was to that.
Yeah. So what was it like before you decided to have a thought?
It was like looking at the inside of my eyelids metaphorically. Like it had that kind of wafty, kind of undifferentiated. It wasn't a clear visualization of an ocean, or sometimes I use visualization, but it just felt very kind of fuzzy and clear at the same time.
So you're in this clear fuzziness, like being behind your eyelids, and you decided to have a thought. Yeah?
Yeah, and I felt like I was manufacturing it. I was like, I'm going to create this thought from spare parts.
A thought from spare parts. And what are the spare parts that constituted the felt need to have a thought?
Yeah, it's a good question. It felt like I was dredging up things from really habitual thoughts. I was like, okay, I've got some thoughts I usually use. That's what it was. It was like, got some stuff on the shelf
Yeah.
that I normally have.
So you had like
know?
dusty thoughts.
Yeah. They're not that dusty. They happen a lot.
Rumination. Well greased thoughts.
Well trodden.
Well trodden thoughts.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. I didn't go to the high shelves. There was some stuff that was kind of there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But you're right. Like they were kind of off the shelf thoughts,
Off the shelf thoughts.
ruminations.
And then once you had the off the shelf thought, more thoughts came off the shelf.
In this case, I could feel that I was forcing it. And so the thought came out and I was like, this doesn't feel organic. So I kind of felt myself like putting it back, but then I was like, I need to reach for another one. So they didn't come. It's more like I was like, I want to go get them. I feel like I'm not doing it right if I don't have a thought to question. Which is another way of saying that, yeah, I felt compelled to have more thoughts.
Did you have the thought, oh, I should have some thoughts?
Yeah. It's kind of what triggered it all.
So I think you were already having thoughts, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it, right? Is that this is just like what it means to be human. Yeah. And the revelatory process is attunement to just that. even though we think we're not doing it, right? Or in your case, you think you're not thinking, but, right? Yeah.
So cool.
I agree. And I like that you used the word attunement to it, but I was mentioning, I just love the way phenomenology comes up in contemplative science research and also in contemplative science, which is the first person introspection. That granular knowing of even, Raf saying there are these thoughts that are off the shelf and then there are these kind of more other thoughts and like just that, familiarization through specificity, not a story about it, the experience of it. And then over time, that becoming more familiar. So you notice, right, oh, I'm contracting. Oh, there's openness. Oh, there's tingling, there's warmth, like that whole kind of, palette of experience of consciousness that then, it seems so funny, especially doing like 4 foundations of mindfulness. You're like, why am I doing each of these, right? But bit by bit, that familiarity brings us closer to the freedom of all of it existing without getting quite so hooked and stuck in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, there's so many hands in the room. I know, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna prefer in the room for now, because we got a lot in the room. I'm not gonna choose. No, Gage, sorry.
There's an in the room bias.
In the room bias at this moment. Sorry, friends online, just this time.
Let's name it.
So, I really like what you said about like the palette of sensations that we tend to feel during during ourselves becoming aware of the sensations.
Yeah.
But I personally have an issue with dissociation. I notice myself check out of the experience often, and this is my 3rd Wellness Wednesday in a row, where like I'd like to see myself, improve out of that dissociation. But I guess I'd just like to know, like, yeah, just like any tips of like, because like this is like dissociation is something that I'm learning to come to terms with. This is something that I can't turn off on command. So, yeah, I just want to know your guys' experiences with helping people with like complex PTSD or just, yeah, I just want to know your guys' tips on that.
Yeah. I have some. Do you have some?
Please, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. So glad you're here for the 3rd time, first of all. And, I'm so glad you also asked the question because certainly many folks experience this in practice. And I'm curious, in the first practice where we were grounding, was a little easier to stay with the present moment, or was there also kind of that, tendency to dissociate?
There were some keywords that you use, like softening up the heart, that like stuck with me throughout the practice.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think, the short answer is kind of following what brings you home. And some of that is work we do outside, so even when we're noticing as we're moving through the world, the things that make us feel really embodied in our presence. That could be we're listening to a song and it's like we feel the song in our whole body and like kind of paying attention to that quality of I'm here in my body in this moment with this experience fully. Of course, then we've had a thought about it. So, but, just kind of calibrating that sense of what it's like to refine that sensory knowing in ways that feel safe, in ways that feel supported, and even like rich. Like we want to find in some ways those appealing, right? The shower, the smell of coffee. So we're starting to build, like you said, like that palette, that sense of I can experience sensation in the body in a way that feels good.
Right.
And then I do think for practices, certainly non-dual practices, they really can, make more common that experience of floatiness, right? And so always we can kind of come back to the belly, like hands on the belly, if the belly feels like a safe place. If not, we can even just go to a neutral place, like kneecaps or elbows, and just having some place where we're here, that feels neutral too. And, always, again, the body is present and here, but the body doesn't always feel like the safest place. So then figuring out, like, what are the places that feel okay? Does it feel okay to be supported? And maybe even it's just like, it feels really okay to notice the light and the quality of light on the ceiling right now. So there's quite a lot of, in some ways, like anchors to the present. And the non-dual is timeless, deathless, unborn. So of course it's going to kind of create that, or possibly create that dissociative experience. But I'm curious, is there in the dissociative experience, like we often kind of have a negative label towards it, but there's something in non-dual experience that's dissociative and not negative, really. It's opening to a different plane. So it might also be interesting to think of, is this the dissociative where I can't tolerate being here, or am I opening in a way that feels like softening? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have 0 minutes left. We're gonna hang out. There's cookies. A lot. It's my birthday tomorrow, so happy to be with you all and eat a lot of sugar, or just hang out and chat. But do want to honor folks who might have other cookie plans going on. Thank you so much. We are so fortunate to have Michael here with us, and I hope everybody's changing their Saturday plans to attend this Dream Yoga workshop. It's in Berkeley at the Magdalene Center. If you haven't been there, it's gorgeous. So easy to find and Google.
Yeah,
We're
right by
Near
the
Bart?
downtown.
Near BART.
1 block from the downtown Berkeley station on Alston.
It's
Alston
what time is it?
It's 10 to 4, but we take a nice long lunch.
Siesta break. But let's take a moment and come back to the body and the breath and presence here. And take a moment and just consider the opportunity we've had here together tonight to connect and reflect, to practice. And we could imagine that almost as its own energy, its own light, its own warmth and heat. And if it feels comfortable, placing hands together in front of the heart in the symbolic gesture of offering. And it's almost like we scoop up that warmth, that heat, that energy, and we offer our practice, our time together, all that warmth, energy, and heat. That natural, uncontrived openness in which our care for all beings is so natural, effortless and easeful. And considering the volume and magnitude of difficulty and challenge and suffering in this world, letting that quiver at the heart and dedicating our practice that all beings everywhere who are struggling, suffering, that they could know inner and outer peace, that they could feel safe and protected from harm, that all beings everywhere could know love and belonging, and that all beings could be absolutely free. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to make a quick announcement.
Okay, great.
Mace, if that's okay. Just want to say again, the generosity of your presence of being here is so meaningful. So I just really appreciate you all being here. And next week, the session is going to be on engaged Buddhism. That's where we are in the book. how to help us avoid cozy Dharma, where we just kind of hang out in uncontrived emptiness and it feels like a cloudless bliss and we forget about the world. Nice, but that's actually not what we're here for. And it relates beautifully to the plans of a peace walk that we're doing as a center that Cage and many others here are helping organize on April 11th. And if you're interested in getting involved, come a half hour early next week. Half hour early next week before the Engaged Buddhism session of like, how can we bring this bodhicitta in a more direct way to the world? So that will be on tap.
And I'm going to keep you for another short period of time. I may some volunteer. It's beautiful to see everybody here. I'm going to just ask you, like, so we have a Donna talk. We really need your money. It's not a joke. I mean, really, like, and I don't also want people to feel guilty. Like, it's a really interesting balance. The center runs at a deficit, and we're just lucky that we had a surplus from the pandemic. That surplus is getting used up. So, like, if you look around the room and see the value to your practice of being here, see, like, my own heart, like, softened tremendously while I was in here, and it needs it because I go back out and do engaged life every day. So, like, please really consider this part of your practice and is a really beneficial practice. So that's number one. Number two, we have a really cool film screening on Saturday night. You should seriously check it out. And you should sign up because you can see how full it is in here. And number three, I'm going to teach you the shortest, coolest birthday song for each. Okay? It goes like this. It goes, this is your birthday song. It isn't very long. And then we all go, hey, and clap our hands at the same time. Okay? So the thing, though, is you do hey, and then clap your hands. Okay, everybody ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Hey! Eve, we love you, and I know on behalf of everybody, we're honored to be celebrating your birthday with you. And there's lots of sugar towards the front of the room where you can also give your dana. Hey. Yeah, so sugar and dana. Oh, and sign up to be a monthly donor. It's really helpful for us.